Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Lupin III: The Shooting, which was released in 2001 on the Sega Naomi GD-Rom hardware. Now, like the game I had previously done, Lupin III: The Typing, this is basically like how House of the Dead is to Typing of the Dead, whereas this is the light gun version, that version is the typing version. So basically what I had to do here was set up the Wii Mote to my Open JVS arcade cabinet, and then I could use that as a light gun when it comes to playing the game, and it actually worked pretty well. And now, as you can see, the first stage here, this is just kind of the warm-up shoot bad guys type stage. I believe it was the same stage in the typing game. But the good part is I was able to fully get through this game, and you're going to see the full gameplay here. But what happens after a while is, initially it felt kind of awkward shooting with a Wii Mote, but after a while I just got really accurate. As you can kind of see here, I'm just shooting every guy in like one shot. But when I first started, it was like bang, 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 and the guy died, or missed the guy, or got shot a lot of times. But eventually I just got to a point where I was like shooting each guy with just one shot, because aiming became pretty easy. I think all I actually did when I did this gameplay was I had the Nintendo Wii turned on so the sensor bar would be on, and then I used the Wii Mote with that, and of course the Wii Mote connects to the Open JVS arcade cabinet in the Raspberry Pi 4 via Bluetooth. And of course it just uses the sensor bar on top of the TV to track where it's being pointed, so that's all that's doing. It's doing nothing to do with the actual Wii itself, because it's connecting to the single board computer that's actually driving the whole thing. But as I said, this is a fairly simplistic stage on this train, where you're basically just okay, I figured I'd just be quiet at that one part because there's a little bit of dialogue there, but basically you're just shooting the bad guys on the train, and it's nothing really all that crazy. And I always say this screen reminds me of Street Fighter, where you're flying to the different places to get to the different stages. And as I'd made mention in the typing video, they're basically setting up the shooting stages just like you would the second season episodes, the second series, where it would type on the typewriter and then it would show the title of the episode. And this was that episode with the land sharks in it, which in the actual episode there was only one land shark for Lupin, Jigen, and Goemon. And if I recall correctly, the way that they actually ended up defeating them is they had this little basket thing, the three of them sat in it, so all three of the land sharks came toward it, and then they released a little thing and it flung them in the air, and the land sharks just hit each other and blew up. So unlike this stage where there's like several rounds, and you can kind of see all the little ones on the top of the screen there, there was only 3 in the actual episode of the TV show that this was based off of. But yeah, that's one of those stages I'm usually not too bad at, no matter how many times I've tried. I've gotten blown up a few times, but you know, not too bad. And now this is that weird bonus stage. I've done pretty well on this a few times, but typically I just hit the thing. Now, in essence, the gameplay here is Lupin has like this gun, which actually steals jewels. So you have to break the glass, then you have to shoot the jewels to get them, but don't get caught by all the lasers. And with however much jewels you get is how much bonus score you get. I've gotten to a few of the cases. I don't know how well I do in this actual gameplay, but typically what ends up happening is I'll shoot, then the lasers come down, and then, yeah, of course they get me. But it's a pretty cool bonus stage considering they're taking like a shooter-centric gameplay and then changing it. And that's what I would definitely have to say is really cool about Lupin the Third: The Shooting. It's a light gun shooter, but it's not like your typical light gun shooter, and they always add all kinds of different gameplay mechanics, as you'll see in some of the later stages as well. There's even one where you're like legit steering a car and using the gun to shoot two things on the screen to say go left or go right. Which, I remember at first that was kind of awkward when I first played the game, but then after a while I kind of got the hang of it and it wasn't too hard. But with that bonus stage, either you get caught or you run out of time, and then that determines how much you actually get in the stage itself. And now I know there's a whole, like, guide to the stages, what they're called, and what episodes they're based off of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw that in the description below the video, so you can see what episodes, what movies, or basically what pieces of Lupin each stage is based off of. And that's one thing I definitely have to say. The more I play this game, the more I think to myself, why didn't Sega bother to port this to the Dreamcast? Because it's already on Naomi, which means it basically runs on the same hardware that Dreamcast is based off of. So even like a Japanese Dreamcast release would have made sense. Now maybe at the time that this was released, it wouldn't have made sense to localize it to America, because maybe Lupin wasn't popular enough. Like when the PlayStation 2 game came out, they actually localized the first game, but didn't localize the second or third game. And of course that GameCube game, I forget what it was called, that didn't get localized either. And then of course, as far as Lupin games go on consoles, there was also one for the Famicom and one for the Super Famicom. Of course, both of them were not localized. And that's one of those weird stages where you lose, but you still continue. And now this is what I was talking about, the car, where you just shoot the steering wheels and the car goes back and forth. And now, of course, this is one of those many scenarios where Fujiko has been kidnapped and now Jigen and Lupin have to rescue her. So basically what you have to do is in your little car here, you have to avoid all the obstacles and all the other cars. Every time you hit something, you lose a heart. If you didn't notice, in the test mode, I put like the highest amount of hearts and the most amount of continues and everything, because I figured then I'd have to basically continue a lot less. And what I will do shortly after this video is I will upload the credits to Lupin the Third: The Shooting into another video, so this doesn't have to be long or end up getting too many copyright strikes due to like whatever music plays during the credits. But this isn't my best gameplay of this stage. I've actually taken way too many hits here, but you know, I got through it. And yeah, that's basically how this stage works. And that's how I basically knew if I completed a stage, is if you saw Lupin and Jigen laughing at the end, that means I did it. Okay, and basically this is similar to the Land Shark one, where there's this like missile that's trying to get you, and you have to shoot it down until its like life goes away. And you'll either get success or failure. If you get failure, it'll hurt you. If you get success, it does not. And I know I had a lot of gameplays where I played this stage and I just kept getting hit no matter how many times I tried it. Now, I'm gonna go over to like some of the wiki here. Now it says here that players take the role of Lupin III as they shoot through 15 of the Wolf's wackiest endeavors. Driving scenarios where the player has to shoot left or right in order to control their vehicle appear as special levels. The game offers co-op mode where a second player can take the role of Jigen and assist Lupin through his adventure. And of course, player 1 is Lupin, player 2 is Jigen. And that's all there is to that stage. It wasn't too bad. And now to the next stage here. Oh, this is that weird one with those like weird electric zombie guys. I can honestly say this is actually one of those many episodes I do actually recall. And as it was saying here, Lupin III The Shooting is a light gun shooter released in 2001 by Sega and developed by WoW Entertainment exclusively for Japanese arcades. I believe in this gameplay I'm actually running it on a USA BIOS, and as you can see, unlike some games, it's not translated. The game primarily revolves around the player traversing through levels inspired by scenarios from Lupin III Part 2 and the feature film The Mystery of Mamo. Lupin III Part 2 is basically the second series. There were 3 Lupin like main series, and there's been a lot of stuff ever since. And that was actually one of many of those stages where you can lose, but you still continue. And now this is that crazy vampire stage that you might recall from when I was playing the typing game. And now, just like any of my gameplays, I've cut out any of my like losses where I had to repeat a stage, because of course that would make this like 30-ish minute video already longer. So basically you're only seeing the last attempt of any stage where I actually got through it. So no times where I tried like 2 or 3 times. And I have to say, this stage is pretty challenging regardless if you're typing or shooting, because there's just so many of these like vampire zombie dudes that just keep popping up no matter how many times you take them down. And yeah, they're just relentless. This is one of those stages where it probably would be a lot easier if you had a player 2 playing as Jigen, which basically just means that you'd see the little Jigen portrait in the top right corner reacting to what's going on, and that's kind of the only difference. And as you can see, this is also a very dark stage. And now I don't recall if I actually get through this or if I actually just die and the game just lets me continue. Yeah, it looks like I actually ended up making it here, so yeah, not too bad considering. But there's like the main vampire enemy guys here, and then there's like the boss ladies that kind of pop up now and then. And the good part about a lot of these Naomi games is that the actual cabinets were fairly interchangeable, so you could just legitimately switch one game for another game without really much of a problem. Yeah, that's one of those stages where I actually ended up losing there, and then it just moved me to the next stage. Now this one's really weird with the big boulder that comes chasing after you. And this is one of those ones where you're just more or less mashing the trigger so you can get the life of the boulder down as quickly as you possibly can. It's probably one of those stages that I've had like less times I've had to repeat than any other stage because it's kind of straightforward. It's not about accuracy, you just have to shoot the giant rock as it's chasing you and just shoot it as much as you can. And I think this also might be one of those stages that you kind of get some points if you get through it, but you're not really penalized if you don't. And then of course it turns into this like giant tank that's chasing after you. And as I already had said once here, this would have been a great game to release on the Naomi, but it could be one of those things that they wouldn't have thought it would have been too successful, even in the home market in Japan. So maybe they just figured they'd keep it exclusive to the arcades. Oh, okay, and then this is an actual boss fight here with this giant like dude. And I remember when I actually got to this for the first time, I was like, oh wow, I really do remember that from Lupin. Because I watched like a good like 100 episodes of the second series of Lupin, so I've seen a good deal of this stuff and a good deal of the movies. But basically what happens is the gameplay of this switches from shoot the little zombie dudes on the floor, try to keep them at bay until it gives you the chance to shoot at the boss's head again. And you basically have to shoot that little flashing light and dodge his fireballs until you completely deplete his life. Hopefully before the time runs out, and then that gives you your victory on this boss fight, which it's a lot easier looking than it actually is. It's one of those things like I lost a lot trying to take this guy out when I first had played it a lot, but after a while I kind of got the knack for it. The key is getting those zombie guys and like taking them out right away, not letting them like get you or anything. Oh, now this is the one that in Lupin the Third, the typing, I could never do because it asks you a question and you have to type the answer, and it doesn't reveal it. But in this one, I believe it's just a quick draw where you have to shoot before the statue shoots you, which is easy. And it's saying that you have to shoot in a certain amount of time or something, I think. But at first I was having a lot of trouble with this, but then after a while I kind of got the knack for it. You kind of have to like more or less guess when the opponent is going to shoot, and then just kind of like beat them at their own game, more or less. It's not that bad of a of a thing. And as you see, I've lost a couple times here and there, but it's not too bad. Whereas, as I said, in the typing game, it asks you a question and you have to answer the question, but if you can't read kanji and katakana, you can't, like, really play that mode. And if you can only, like, read them when you look at the writing really slowly, of course it flashes too fast on the screen for you to have any chance if you're only, like, a very slow reader of Japanese. Oh, okay, this is that one where you're shooting the tanks from, like, a global, a high perspective. And this was also another one of those stages that really didn't give me too much trouble, except you kind of have to understand how pushing the button and the missile actually striking are not exactly one-to-one, because you push the button, the missile gets shot, and then it hits the tank, so you have to kind of push your trigger button long before you want the tank to get attacked, so you will actually, like, blow up the tanks. But once you kind of get that rhythm down, it's not too bad. And it's actually a pretty fun stage. Since the tanks are so big, they're rather easy to hit. So, yeah, this one never really gave me all that much trouble as far as, like, stages I played numerous times goes. Another one I remember giving me issues at first was that car stage, but, like, after a while I was able to hit left and right easily and just, you know, maneuver my way through it easily enough that at least if I had maybe like 5 life, I could get through that one. And that's another one that I could remember the actual, like, episodes it was based off of. I was like, oh wow, I remember that. That was really cool. Oh, and this is that one where that crazy helicopter's chasing you. I think this might be the next to last level. Now this one was most certainly one of those levels I remember that gave me a lot of issues, because more or less think of it this way. The helicopter comes at you. If you don't really take it out really quickly, sort of like that missile one where it kept flying across the screen, it will absolutely get you, and that's kind of the whole point of it, that you're gonna be taken out a lot of times and have to pump more 100 yen pieces into the arcade machine, and therefore you're going to want to keep playing this. But this is also one of those that if you don't win or have life left at the end, you won't get through this stage. This isn't one of those ones that just kind of lets you slide if you don't do it. But one thing I was going to say is, just like House of the Dead and some of the similar light gun games, this can be played in like a new Net City type setup and like a big projector setup, because I've seen pictures of both. So it's kind of cool. Same thing with like a game like Virtual Cop 3 or even House of the Dead 2. And as you can see, Goemon just ended up destroying the helicopter and even slicing the dude a little bit at the end there. And now the next stage, I believe, is the final stage, and I'll let you see this long video where it's showing you the ending boss guy, and I can remember this is pretty long, so take a look.
最後の空港が関係ねえな。さらばだ、ルパン。俺は夢盗まれたからな。取り返しに行かね。
Okay, well maybe it wasn't as long as I thought it was, but I can remember when I played that level for like the first few times, it just felt much longer, and like of course if you had to keep on continuing in this level, and you had to watch that every time, it really got like annoying, because it was like this like 2-minute video that you had to watch over and over again. But yeah, this is the final stage of the game. And this level, I will admit, I actually had to look up how you beat this, because when you get up to the boss after taking out all these guys with the cloaks, you have to shoot him at a very specific time or you miss every time and you never get past him. So I actually had to look it up how you actually win here. And once I did, I was able to do it without a problem. You basically have to shoot exactly when the clock hits 0 or you miss. And if you do it any sooner or any later, you lose. So yeah, that was really, really hard to actually nail down as to get him exactly. And after a while, I kind of got a feel for it, like a lot of stuff in this game, and I was able to do it.
Goemon, 助かったぜ。
And now this last part, all you have to do is shoot the one target, and this determines if you are successful or you lose. But this is another thing that took me forever to actually nail down, and I was annoyed when I got the bad end. But yeah, Lupin the Third the Shooting is a very fun light gun shooter, especially if you have Open JVS or an original arcade cabinet and can use a real light gun. I would highly recommend it to anybody who likes light gun games. Very fun time, I'd imagine even more fun with a friend. And it just is a shame it never was released on the Sega Dreamcast. Well, this has been another Game Nexus arcade video, and I shall see you later. Make sure you give Lupin the Third the Shooting a try, it's a very fun game. Bye.
どこまで行っても追われる身か。
それが奴の宿命。